The long-awaited day is upon us. Not just the hierarchy of power in the DC universe changing, but the somewhat anticipated release of Gotham Knights. So after last week's news regarding console performance, I chose to get the game on PC instead. An absolutely disastrous choice on my part, because it also has very alarming problems that hinder it in the same way the console port is affected. I have managed to play for a few hours, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some thoughts I've gathered about the game. Starting off with the biggest issue I have, the frame rate is unapologetically awful. It's inconsistent and your settings hardly change performance. Even people with a 3090 are having terrible optimization and utilization issues causing frame drops and stuttering. This is incredibly embarrassing for a £60 game by a AAA developer, but then again it's not uncommon for Batman games to have teething issues at launch, but that cannot invalidate the absolute mess that has happened with the launch of this game. Arkham Knight took a while to work properly, but I'm still not sure to this day whether that was from the updates they managed to do, or just the advancements in hardware. Hopefully someone like the creator of Batman Tweak for Arkham Knight can come along and work some magic to get this working properly, if the devs can't. I think I must have spent more time in the menus trying to tweak the graphics settings than actually playing the game in my whole time today. I did manage to find a fix for why the game looked really blurry though. You need to change the dynamic resolution settings to 100 even if it's turned off. Maybe some other problematic settings could be causing the other performance issues, but I'll have to mess around with them another time. I felt the overall movement of the characters felt very clunky and unresponsive. Moving them felt like you were sliding around the floor uncontrollably, and combat tended to be packed with slow animations that left you hanging, waiting to make your next move. It's not the worst gameplay I've seen, but I don't really think it's a worthy successor to the previous Batman franchise. The graphics are kind of Sometimes the character models look really nice, but the overall art direction of the city feels very bland and generic. But in a slight improvement over Arkham Knight, the city feels a little bit more alive, with actual pedestrians and vehicles going about their NPC lives. So far, I don't really know what's happening in the story either. Batman kind of dies, and then you're thrown into this mission where someone else has died, and I still don't know why we have to investigate it, or why it's so important to the story. I felt thrown into the deep end a bit with the story, and why I'm collecting evidence from random NPCs and breaking into the GCPD. At least with being thrown into the deep end, you don't really get a long tutorial. The first mission acts as one, and then it's all down to you. I guess playing the Arkham games made me feel more in tune with what to do here, but I think for new players it could catch them off guard a bit. It's not all doom and gloom though, it's nice seeing other DC characters exist through the emails you receive. In terms of game design, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but there's a couple of really weird choices that stood out to me. Why would you put NPCs like the police in this game into an RPG game that literally give you no XP? It feels like they just threw them into the mix as an enemy type to fill out an empty space they had in the game. And I was also confused why you have to unlock so much through gear and half-baked progression trees. Surely there was a better way of progression than locking basic movement staples behind a slog of grinding NPC fights. Overall, I wouldn't recommend buying this game at the moment unless you are really desperate to play a new Batman game. I'm sure somewhere in here is a pretty good game. Right now, I just can't see past the critical performance problems and weird design choices. Hopefully they'll address some of these problems with more patches in the near future so I can try and play more of the game. But at the moment, it's just a frustrating grind just to not get a headache from the fluctuating frame rates. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts on the game are and if you've actually got it or not. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here today, then please consider subscribing to catch our other content as and when it releases.